You are listening to the Marketing 32 Show with your host, Brett Allen.
Hi, Brett Allen here, host of the Marketing 32 Show, where I connect with leading dentists, influencers, and industry experts to help uncover the latest and greatest when it comes to helping your dental practice to grow and to thrive. This episode, as always, is brought to you by our team here at Marketing 32. We are the only dental marketing agency that I know of that is truly performance-based and value-oriented. So you'll grow or you don't pay us. It's that simple. So if you want to learn more about us and potentially working with us, it might be a great fit together. Go over to marketing32.com and we'll see if it'll be a great fit. Quick shout out to Dr. Avi Patel. Just had him on recently of Clear Aligner Advisor. You guys got to go check out that episode. We talked about how he's helped over 200 dentists now collectively generate more than $9 million in aligner revenue for their practices. So lots of good value there. Avi's awesome. Today, super excited to have Bryton Nield with us. He is the co-founder and CEO of Dentist Partner Pros, a leading firm revolutionizing associate doctor and hygienist recruiting. He's passionate about helping dentists build more successful, less stressful practices through proven hiring, onboarding, and leadership systems. With a track record of scaling 2 startups to 7 figures, Bryton is on a mission to transform the way dental practices build high-performing teams. Bryton, welcome to the show. Excited to talk with you.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Brett. I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It is. I really appreciate that I got to know you through Bob Spiel. Met him in DC at the AID conference there. And excited to talk with you about what you guys do at Dentist Partner Pros and learn more all about the value you provide. So why don't we start there?
Let's jump in.
Yeah, let's start there. Tell me the story. How did you guys start Dentist Partner Pros? What's the impetus there? Give us the background.
Yeah, kind of the origin story. So let's roll it back a little bit. Bob is my co-founder and business partner, the one you met back at AID in DC. And he's been a practice management consultant for, I think it's going on 17, 18 years or something like that. He was a hospital and surgical center CEO before that, and had just had a lot of experience in kind of senior level positions and hiring and things like that. So when he jumped into dentistry, 18 years ago, he ran into this anomaly over and over again that practice owners were having a really tough time finding and hiring and retaining associate dentists. In fact, one of his really good friends that was kind of like an OG practice management consultant came to him and said, "Hey, Bob, do you know that actually her name was Linda Miles. For those that if you've been in dentistry for more than 20 years, you might know who Linda Miles is. She's awesome.
I've heard the name.
Yeah, she's fantastic. I've met her a few times. And anyway, so she's like, Bob, there's over a 75% failure rate in dentistry. And at that time, it was just shocking to hear. And so he at that time thought, okay, there's got to be a better way based on my experience of hiring. Could I kind of take a crack at this? And so he didn't really offer it to the industry. He just kind of one-offed it for his individual clients and developed a little bit of a system. Well, fast forward 10 years later, I enter the conversation and started meeting with Bob, and we came together and realized, hey, there's something here on this hiring stuff. Like what you've been doing has led to some very good results. In fact, 365, 180 degrees different than what's actually happening right now. What if we did something with that? And so we started to do a few test projects, and we realized, holy cow, there's a huge need for this. And we need to, in order to serve the industry, we need to make this its own entity and really do everything we can to scale it and take it to the industry. And so that's when we decided to form Dentist Partner Pros, with this whole mission to change the way that private practice owners hire and retain associates. And since then, our processes and systems have only gotten better and better and better, and we've been able to help clients and practice owners all over the country find and hire awesome rockstar dentists.
That's so cool. I'm excited to dig in and learn more about how you guys do that and share that with our listeners. So let's talk more about that. You talked about, the revolving door in dentistry of hiring and letting go and how it's not worked previously, right? So how do you guys find associates that stay fit and, continue to grow with the practice, right?
Yeah, it's a more of a loaded question than I think. On surface level, would be like I could go post on job ads and I find dentists, right? But the deeper question, I think, first of all, should we hire an associate? Am I actually ready? So that's like step one. And I think too often I talk to practice owners, and you probably talk to them all the time, that are feeling a little burnt out, maybe a little tired of being chairside. That ball in the chain effect of owning a business is really starting to wear them down, and they think, if I just throw another doctor in here, it's going to solve my problems. And unfortunately, that's just not the case. Okay. We call it panic point hiring. It's almost like when you're drowning and you're just like, I got to find a solution. So I'll just throw something at the wall and hope it sticks. And unfortunately, that's kind of plagued the industry. The norm of like finding a dentist, you probably heard it, Brett. Like, I'm going to go talk to my alma mater, or maybe I'll post a job ad, or maybe more commonly is like my cousin's nephew's son is graduating from dental school in a year, and I'm just going to bring him on and hope it works out.
Yeah. Right.
Right. And so it's led, unfortunately, to the industry failure rate of well over 70% of associateships fail. And we've seen that most of them fail within the first year. And that's posted across Dental Economics, Dental Post. Like, there's a number of articles that support that. And I think this panic point hiring has led to a lot of people getting in this associate revolving door. Okay. So how do we change that, I guess, is the next question we'd probably want to ask. And it really starts with going back and saying, am I actually ready to bring on another doctor?
Yeah.
Okay. And there's kind of two parts to that question. Okay. The first part is, am I, as a practice owner, like mentally and emotionally prepared to work with another doctor? Okay. Because it's not another team member. It's not another assistant. It's not another, it's a different relationship, right? Because they're going to come in and they're going to produce and do dentistry. So the way that they do dentistry is probably going to be different than yours, right? So the way that they use your equipment, the way that they work with your staff and your team, it's going to be different than the way that you do it. And so you have to really ask, like, am I in a growth-minded, abundance mindset of willing to help this person succeed in spite of, like, they might be different than me? Right. So, like, if you can emotionally and mentally wrap your head around that and say, okay, like, yes, I'm in that headspace. I don't see another option. I really want to make this happen. That's the first box I think you need to check. The next one is your practice actually ready? Like, can it entertain and bring on another doctor and get them busy? And would it be win-win? So there's a few things that, if I were a practice owner, I would highly encourage them to look at. And you can get it really nitty gritty here. You could do a cash flow analysis, look at your whole P&L. You could do all that stuff. But to keep it simple, there's like 4 main categories someone wants to kind of look at if their practice is ready to entertain an associate. Okay. So the first one is patient load. Do you have enough patients to go around to fill your schedule and to get a new doctor busy fast? Okay. And so you're looking at like total active patients that have received treatment in the last 18 months. How many new patients on average are we seeing? And could we increase that? Or are we scheduling out months in advance? I talked to a doctor recently. They're booked out almost a year. And at first,
oh my gosh,
like a year, Brett, right? It's like, at first, like, you could kind of brag, you're like,
but
yeah, you'd be like, I'm kicking butt, taking names. I'm booked out a year. But is that the brag that you actually want to take? Is that like you're pushing patients down a year?
Wait. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not. At first, I totally agree. It's like, that's exciting. You've got a ton of demand for your services. On the other hand, you're actually providing a huge disservice by not finding ways to serve them sooner.
Right.
Right?
And how many people are you losing to another practice, right?
Exactly.
So what are the
Exactly.
kind of numbers you're looking for to like make sure you've got the metrics you're hitting to add another associate?
Yeah. So for active patients, I'm just going to use like solo GP numbers. Okay. I'm not going to go into specialists. I'm not going to go into group practices. If you've got two, three, five doctors, we'll just keep it simple. One doctor. You
One
want
doctor. Okay.
on you want at least about 1,800, preferably over 2,000 active patients.
Okay.
So active
And that's the
patients is
last 18
defined,
months.
yeah, somebody that's come in and received treatment in the last 18 months.
Okay.
Most practice management softwares can pull a number similar to that. And you can at least get in the ballpark if you know, okay, I'm kind of around that park. Now there are exceptions. If you're like a holistic fee for service type practice where you do
Boutique, high
dentistry,
end. Yeah.
yeah, kind of like very niche, or even like
Revenue per
high
patient is
cosmetic.
higher. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it gets a little different. You obviously don't need as many patients, but it's not a hard fast number, but you want enough to go around. New patients, you want at least 30 to 40 a month, just on average coming in. There's enough that okay, I could start putting a new patient on the new doctor schedule
Mhm.
at least a couple times a week. And then if I increased marketing, like there's enough demand there, it's like whatever we're doing, we could probably do more of. So that's a good number. Ideally, obviously, the more new patients you have, the better. So that's the first box to check is like patient load. The second one is in tandem with that, which is just overall busyness. Same kind of thing. What's my production look like? Um, what's my hygiene schedule look like? Am I running from patient to patient, or do I have plenty of time?
Yeah.
Uh, like those are the kinds of things. Are you extending hours? Are you adding days because you don't have anywhere else to put patients? Um,
Right.
the, we like to call it like looking for a practice within a practice. Do you have
Okay.
a
Yeah.
practice within a practice, right? Like, could I bring in another doctor and get him busy? Okay.
Yeah. That's a great way to say it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next one would be just your financial state. And the number you really want, like there's two. One is collections. Like, are you collecting for a solo doc? You want to be like 1.5 to 2 million, depend like in a very comfortable state. But the more important number is your overhead rate. And that's like how much money are you making or losing before you get paid as a practice owner. Your typical GP office is going to be around 60 to 70%. And that's okay. If you're in that range, you're okay. If you're anything higher than that, you're playing a very risk game because you're going to want to bring in a doctor and pay them around 30%. And if that's where your numbers are at,
Yeah.
you're
You're
going to
cannibalizing.
start,
Yeah.
yeah, you're going to start to lose money. You're like paying them you're going to lose money every time they show up to do dentistry. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, anyway, so that's another big one that people should look at, is just okay, financially, can I actually do it? Am I collecting enough money? And then the last one is just simply capacity. Do I have the space to bring on another doctor? And
Mm.
whether that's in operatories, ideally you want 5 to 6 like minimum. That's great. If you have more than that, fantastic. If you're in the smaller, older niche practices that only have like 4 ops, it's going to get tricky. So then you have to ask, am I willing to get creative with my schedule, extend hours, add days, maybe do an A/B shift kind of a thing? Do I cut back? You can do it. It's just you got to get how creative are you willing to be? So those are the kind of the things that I think doctors should really consider. So it's like patient load, busyness, overhead, and capacity. If you can check those boxes, okay, you're in a good spot to bring on another doctor. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. I know there's a lot of docs out there that I talk to also that are, looking to retire in the next 3 to 5 years. And so they're like, how do I bring on somebody to replace me? Maybe do some kind of partnership thing where they buy me out or whatever.
Yeah.
So I imagine the complexity is is the reason why it's been so unsuccessful in the past, right? Without your help. So let's dig into that a little bit more. So you mentioned how the practice owner is the number one key to a successful associateship. What does that mean? How, yeah, go
Yeah,
deeper.
well, let me ask you this, Brett. I've kind of seen there's a couple different types of doctors out there. Um, we have your atypical, like type A, very perfectionist, like I'm the only one that can serve my patients. And that type of personality has a tough time bringing on another doctor and actually like letting go and supporting them.
Yeah, that makes
Okay.
sense. Yeah,
Not saying they can't, because I've seen that they can. That's what I'm saying by that's what I mean by they make the biggest difference. Because if you come in with the mindset of like, I'm the only one, and like this next doctor, they've got to be tip top
they
notch
got to do
and they've
everything
got
my
to be
way.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's going to be tough for that associate to come in and see success. It just will.
yeah,
But if you come in with it and say, like, I still have high standards, but I'm going to do whatever I can to feed them, get them busy, mentor them, provide them help, uh, that's a total different mindset.
yeah,
And so
totally.
it
Yeah,
it totally shifts the ownership where unfortunately I think there's this dialogue and there's a reason the dialogue exists, but the dialogue is associates are just no good and they don't want to work and their school is not as good as it used to be and all that
yeah. Oh,
stuff.
interesting. Yeah,
And I think that shifts a little bit of the blame too much to just like it's their fault. I couldn't have done anything to change it.
yeah,
Where the opposite is like you totally own it and say I'm gonna help them grow. I'm gonna help them succeed. I'm gonna be patient with them, and I'm okay with that. Now, I will put a caveat: you should never, as a practice owner, accept lack of effort, dismal results, and if things aren't changing, it's not worth pursuing. Right?
mm,
It is okay to move on, but I think as leaders, the best thing we can do is first look in the mirror and say, okay, how is this my fault? How could I make it different? And oftentimes, practice owners instead decide, like, I'm just going to cut it off. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I'm not willing to help them grow, kind of a thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, we've done a couple of episodes on mindset and leadership, and all of that goes into internal processes and building a team. You guys got to go back and check out episode with Lonnie Grass, awesome consultant in the industry. Yeah, we talked a bit about that. So, I mean, people is when you own a practice, people is a big thing, and so you don't get a whole lot of training in dental school around marketing. You don't get a whole lot around business management, admin, process development, all of that. It's kind of like you got to figure that out. And so, if you're feeling like there's friction between you and your team, or if you're feeling like there's friction between an associate you just hired, you might want to look internal and see how you can be better as a leader, or changes that you can make with your team to improve process, to get that freedom and happiness back. So let's talk about the biggest hiring pitfalls, right? I mean, there's a lot of different roles that you hire for, but I imagine as an associate, like we talked about in the beginning, it's different. And so what has led traditionally to us, that huge failure rate in finding a good match as an associate?
Yeah, it's funny. I think what I've seen is that practice owners, and this is not a dig, it's just what's been true. Practice owners tend to spend more time planning their next vacation than they do planning who they're going to hire.
Mm.
And it's because hiring, unfortunately, especially like a doctor, most of the times they've never done it. And if they've tried to do it, they haven't done it successfully. And it feels like we're just kind of shooting from the hip and hoping the vibes are
Mm.
right and it's going to
Mm.
work out. Right. And so
Yeah.
what happens, I think, most commonly is we hear about another doctor, they call or whatever, they fall on our lap and are like, okay, like let's just see if this is a good fit. So usually it's like, let's go to dinner. things seem to vibe pretty well. Like we have some of the similar things. You like they were nice, so we have them come on site. The team's like, yeah, they're nice. Like, okay, let's give this a shot. And there's no like real process of vetting or identifying who's going to match with my practice and like how would I even do that. Instead, it's just like,
Do I like this
you
person?
know, yeah, are the vibes
Yeah.
there? Like, do we mesh?
Yeah.
It's kind of like going on a Tinder date, I guess. I don't know. It's
I mean, that is important, right? You got to have that culture fit, but at the same time,
for
there's
sure.
deeper like assessments and questions that you can do to really find a good match, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So we recommend begin with the end in mind, as Stephen Covey says, begin with the end in mind and actually like write down the different characteristics that you want to see in your associate. And those should be clinical and character type characteristics, right? Like personality, values, how do they view money? How do they view like CE and a growth mindset? And how is that related to how you view it? Because if you're like, I want someone that's all in on CE, but you don't do it, it's like, what are we doing here?
Mm.
Right? So, anyways, write down the characteristics that you want to see. And it's similar for you, Brett, I'm sure, with marketing, where it's like, okay, who's our ideal patient? If you're marketing for just kind of like a pediatric office and it's like, it's all about kids, we want to make it fun compared to like a high end cosmetic practice where it's like,
Yeah,
we
totally
want the
different. Yeah.
prettiest smile, totally different, avatar that you're going to be marketing to and the copy that you create and all that
Hmm.
stuff. It's the same idea with hiring. You want to write down and think, okay, who is our ideal match? And actually write it down and use that as like the benchmark for who we're going to go recruit to and find. If you know you need someone with a couple years of experience, why in the world would you waste your time going to talk to the D4s at the local dental school?
Right, right, right. Yeah, that makes
Right?
sense.
It's incongruent. It doesn't make sense, but it happens all the time. And instead, we're just like, okay, they're there. Let's try them out. So when
Yeah,
you have that clarity and that benchmark of like, okay, that's who we need to go find, it totally changes the rest of the experience for you. Because now you can go to the appropriate recruiting sources, whether that's job boards or networking or whatever. You go find them where they're hanging out. And then from there, how do you actually know if they're good? You have to have some sort of vetting process in place, right? So, like whether you're going to do the interviews or your office manager is going to do an interview and then you're going to do one, or are you going to have them come on site? Are you going to do a group interview? Are you going to use some sort of personality tests like Myers-Briggs or DISC or Colby or any of those types of things? Are you going to do a background check? Are you going to talk to references? If so, how? A lot of these things are just oversights and we don't think about it. But when you create the process, it creates consistent results. And those consistent results allow you to actually measure like how well do they match my ideal criteria. Okay. Because if we're
yeah,
always coming back and saying like, okay, here's my ideal. How do they match? How do they match? How do they match? What happens is instead of just comparing like the three candidates that maybe apply to your job and saying like, okay, that one's kind of like the best option. Let's take them. What if that best option is nowhere near your ideal and it's just like, it's just not going to be a good fit no matter what?
yeah,
You're settling, right?
yeah, yeah.
And so it's so good to begin with the end in mind, go and recruit them, follow a vetting process, and making sure you've got a win-win offer in place. Um, every market's different. In order to make sure you've got a win-win offer, I just go act as if you're an associate and see what's being offered in your market. Usually it's a daily per diem, it's a percentage of collections or production. There's usually some sort of CE, maybe a sign-on bonus. There's all sorts of stuff. The market has changed compared to how it was 4 or 5 years ago. It's totally changed. Um, I would say it's more of like a buyer's market than a seller's market. If you're saying the
Mm.
sellers are the practice owners and the buyers are the
Yeah, there's
associates
a lot
have
more associates. Yeah,
they have a little bit more power in the
yeah,
conversation compared to how they used to have. So Anyways, that was
Yeah.
a huge rant of a whole bunch of
No, that
stuff.
was
So
no, it was good. It was good. Let's dig. I guess to close, let's dig a little bit deeper on how you guys do what makes what's the magic, right? Like you guys have such a great success rate at doing this. What makes you different? How do you do that?
well, let me ask you this question, Brett. If a dentist comes to you and they say, "Hey, I'm doing like my own SEO and I'm running my own paid ads," and I'm like, "I'm doing like what's your thought?" Like,
I'm like, oh gosh.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
because it's not their expertise, right? Maybe they
Yeah.
watched a few YouTube videos and they're just kind of like winging
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
And and what's wild to me is the when a dentist who values their time actually puts a number on it, they're usually making anywhere from like 500 to $1,000 an hour, if not more, if they actually put a
Hmm.
value to their time. And instead of finding experts and outsourcing the help, they'll like take it on and try to.
Yeah.
And what it
What's
does is totally devalues their time, right? Like they're
yeah.
losing money. If you really think about it, they're losing money by not bringing on expert help who will get them better results faster, right?
Yeah.
Same thing when you bring on like your marketing company. You guys are going to get better results faster than anything they could do on their own,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, for
So it's the
sure.
same thing when you consider working like with someone like us. This is literally all we do every single day. We're interviewing. I think I looked at the stats recently and we interviewed like well over 100 associate dentists in the last like 30, 60 days or something. And those are in-depth, hour-long interviews that are being scored and measured and like it's a craft of like how do we know who's going to be a good fit and how do we create those ideal avatars. And so
Right.
instead of like guessing and hoping that you're
Hmm.
going to be able to maybe nail this somehow and beat the industry standard of like it's not going to take you 4 tries to find the right fit, costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars of intentional like hard costs of your time, and plus opportunity costs of all the rework and rescheduling and redoing the whole thing
Right.
and firing and losing team members. It's just not worth it when you actually consider the costs. And so
Yeah.
people come to us because we do it all for them and we guarantee that they're going to find and hire the right person.
I love
Um,
that. Yeah.
because it's
Yeah,
all
you
we
have
do. And
you guarantee success. If there's not a good fit, then you're gonna make it right. You're gonna find the next candidate. But
yeah,
I mean, and you don't just rely on that guarantee. From what I've heard and what I've seen, your process and how you match associates, there's a high likelihood that you're going to hit it out of the park even on the first one. So
yeah. I mean, we have well over an 85 plus success rate over the last, 10, 15 years applying
85.
this.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
compared to the 75 failure. Um, and so it
Yeah.
works, but it's not perfect. People are like humans are
Right.
humans and
Yeah.
things change and stuff. But I do love that we warranty and we guarantee it and we
Yeah.
always make sure it's right. So, um, the secret sauce, I guess going back to your original question that kind of got us on this topic would be this is our expertise. Like this is
Hmm.
what we do all day, every day. And we've built a model that has been proven to succeed time and time again across the entire country. It doesn't matter what market you're in. Because
Hmm.
I know if you're listening to this and you're a dentist in Milwaukee, you're thinking, oh, my market's different. It's
Right.
challenging. Well, if you're also a dentist in Dallas, Texas, or if you're in middle of nowhere, North Dakota, you're thinking the same thing. And what I can tell you is we've proven that it works in every single place. It's
That's
because
awesome.
it's not location specific. It's a process proven to deliver consistent results.
Yep. Yep.
And that applies across. I mean, obviously it depends on how much time you have and your pool of candidates is going to be different depending on where you're at and stuff like that. But um, this is what we do, and frankly, I think we're kind of passionate about it. We kind of geeks about
Yeah.
it
No,
of
it
helping people
shows. You've
find
got
and
it.
hire culture, right?
Yeah, you've got it figured out. And I love that you mentioned you've got a process and a methodology that you've perfected, similar to us. We've got our practice impact formula that we've developed. Regardless of what market you're in, we figured out ways to generate new patients and the right kind of patients, depending on what your goals are, as well as increase revenue per patient through internal marketing as well. So there's a lot there. But this has been awesome, Bryton. Thank you for your time today. I guess, where do we send people if they want to work with you? Send them to your website?
Yeah. Just go to dentistpartnerpros.com. That's the easiest way to find us. You can, we have a free quiz on there. It's called the Associate Readiness Quiz. You can go take it if you're curious, if you match those 4 benchmarks of like patient load, busyness, overhead, and capacity. And I'd also love it. We're producing a lot of content like this to help educate more people. And so go give us a follow on all socials at Dentist Partner Pros. We put out content every single day, long forms every week, to help people just to be more empowered to make good decisions on what their expertise is. So awesome. If any of those would be helpful for people, we'd love to help them.
Yeah, we'll put it all in the show notes so you guys can find those links. And Bryton, thank you so much again. Appreciate it. And until next time on the Marketing 32 Show, everybody have a great day.